Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of the Dan and Joe Sports Show. As always, I'm Dan.
And I'm Joe.
All right, Joe. You know, we just got done with the British Open, and of course, it was played at the old course again, which is always such a great venue. It's St. Andrews. It's one of the coolest golf courses there is. One I've always wanted to go see. The British Open played there. I have played one golf tournament course in my life, Carnoustie, where they played the British Open at, but definitely a dream of mine to either play at or go see a British Open at the old course. And we ended up getting a little bit of a surprising winner in Cameron Smith. Now, he's someone that he's been in the leaderboard of a lot of majors lately, been getting a lot of top five finishes, but he wasn't someone that I was expecting to really come through in the clutch and finally get his first major.
Yeah, I was thinking, I heard about him getting maybe like a runner-up finish, maybe like the 2020 Masters or something like that.
Yeah, he's had that runner-up finish, and he's also, like I said, had a few top fives. He's someone that you see in there a lot, but it was never one where he was really that close to winning, where it was like, within a stroke or anything like that. And this is one, Joe, where he won, I would say, with an amazing effort because he got 20 under, which the old course is not one of the more difficult courses when it comes to the British Open Pantheon. It's not one where you usually see people win with like, let's say a 3 under or even par or anything like that. But it isn't one where you typically see a guy shoot 20 under. So, I mean, it was a very epic performance by Cameron Smith and really pretty consistent. I mean, I think he was in the 60s every single day. And what really separated him at the very end is I think he birdied 4 holes in a row on the back nine, and that's what separated him from the pack.
That's really impressive to be able to do that.
Well, yeah, and especially because it was in a circumstance where nobody wanted him to win because Rory McIlroy had been leading and in the top spot for pretty much all 4 days. And of course, when you get to the British Open, Rory's going to be maybe the biggest fan favorite out there. He's got the Northern Ireland heritage, which is part of the British Empire, so all the British people can cheer for him. And then when you also play the British Open in Northern Ireland, which happens every now and then, the Irish people can cheer for him. So he's got kind of a unique spot where he's always going to be one of the people that's most loved at the British Open. And what made it even more interesting and also make it more to where he was going to be a fan favorite this time is, I mean, it's amazing how time flies. It's been 8 years since Rory McIlroy won a major, which blows my mind because you think about him as being like, maybe a top 20 golfer of all time, someone that's won a lot of majors and someone that's never really seemed to have disappeared from the major eye. But that's a long time since he's won a major.
It really is. And, I have to kind of pause, and digest that. I know we were talking about it before the show earlier. Like, I still remember, it almost seems like it was yesterday when he won his first ever major, that 2011 U.S. Open. And then here we are, it's been a while since he won his last one. And that's hard to believe. I was definitely, kind of rooting for him, kind of keeping up, with how he was doing, and definitely, wanted to see him finish it off.
Yeah, I was really hoping he would win. I mean, he's someone that I've watched for a long time. And you hate to say that he hasn't lived up to his expectations, but you kind of feel like he hasn't quite reached the level of what was put on him because, I mean, he was put out there as the British Tiger Woods. That was the way that it was played when he was younger. And of course, that's a almost impossible, idol to build up to. But you're looking at him now, he's our age. He's 32 years old. He's won 5 majors, which is great. It is. I mean, there are not many guys that have won 5 majors, but you compare that to what was placed on him and where he's at, and he probably is just a little bit short of reaching his goals. And he's someone that, you'd like to see get maybe to end his career, maybe in the Nick Faldo range, like 8 or 9 majors. And then I would feel like he, probably hit where most people would say based on the law that he got when he was younger.
Yeah, you want to see him bookend his career with a string of some more titles. But you're right. Like, it's because we hold him to that higher standard is the only reason, we kind of evaluate it that way. But you're right, too. When he kind of burst onto the scene, like 2010, 2011, people were kind of desperately, wanting that next face of golf. And so I always kind of felt like that was one reason we kind of really placed that pressure on him.
That's right, Joe. And one of the saddest things about it is we never got to see him and Tiger have that final, like they go to a playoff for a major. You know, you see them having putts on 18 to see who wins. And it was so expected because, of course, at the time when Rory was getting hot, Tiger was still a big deal, and it never happened. And he gave the mantle to Rory a little bit, but Rory never just took it the way that I think a lot of people were expecting him to.
Right. No, I think that's a good assessment.
Yeah. So it's, I definitely would like to see him win a couple more. And, like I said, kind of booking his career. I don't think he's going to be a guy that's ever going to get to 10 majors, but I think he has a chance to maybe be in that 7-8 range and put himself as still a possible top 10 golfer of all time.
Yeah, no, I think that's very achievable.
Yeah. But going back to Cam Smith, this is a huge, huge thing for him. I mean, to beat Rory McIlroy when he shot 18 under, I think if you would have told me Rory would have shot 18 at the old course, I would have thought he probably would have won by a couple strokes. I think definitely a good launching point for Cameron Smith. And, he's going to be someone that I think is going to face a little bit of trouble. I don't think he's ever going to be someone that's going to be one of the biggest fan favorites. But the bottom line is you can do that and still win a bunch of majors. So it's a good start for him. I think, he's someone that could probably win. I think he could win multiple ones. I don't think that he's ever going to get to the 5 level that Rory's at, but I could see Cam Smith being a guy that could win 2 or 3.
Yeah, maybe somebody that's kind of like on the short list a few times as far as like some more top 5 finishes too.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I would expect that he's going to have many more top 5 finishes. And I think he's got a chance to win 1 or 2 more majors.
Gotcha.
And Joe, speaking of winning not just 1 or 2 games in a row, how about the Mariners winning 14 games in a row going into the All-Star break?
That's right, Dan. Like that has been kind of a crazy story out of nowhere, because I was talking about this, I think, last week on the show with the addition of USC and UCLA eventually to the Big Ten. I was talking about the parallel with like how much travel they're going to have to endure for basketball and baseball, especially, and comparing that to the Seattle Mariners and being all the way up in the Pacific Northwest. All their road trips are so far. Like they play in the same division with the Houston Astros and the Texas Rangers. And so it's just crazy how hard they have to travel for divisional games. And a lot of people say that that's one reason that the Mariners have the longest playoff drought, I think, in all 4 major professional sports. They have not been to the playoffs since 2001, which was, I think, Ichiro Suzuki's rookie year. But this year, like you said, they've won 14 games in a row now at the All-Star break, and they are led by one of the up-and-coming superstars in baseball, Julio Rodriguez, who burst onto the scene Monday night, participating in the Home Run Derby. And although he did not win it, he lost to Juan Soto of Nationals. He had a really good effort. The All-Star game next year is going to be in Seattle. And so this is the most excited people have been about Seattle Mariner baseball with Julio Rodriguez since, the days of King Griffey Jr. and Ichiro Suzuki.
So Joe, in 2001, King Griffey Jr. still would have been on the Mariners in 2001, right?
That was he at that point he had been traded to the Reds. Okay. That was when they had that blockbuster trade, and he went to the Reds. It was kind of similar. Always reminded me of when Albert Pujols went from the Angels, or went from the Cardinals to the Angels. Mm-hmm. Never was the same player. Similarly, Griffey never was the same after he left Seattle.
Yeah, Joe, it's weird because I remember when I was a kid, the Mariners were a team. They never won the World Series, but they were always in the playoffs, and you feel like they were a good team. I've always thought they had a cool logo. I've always liked the uniform of the Mariners. It's one of my favorite like uniforms in pro baseball, and it's a program that I kind of want to see do well because you think about Seattle sports and they've lost so much. I mean, they lost the Supersonics, which was a great program in the 90s. The Seahawks are a big deal, and the fan base is great. I mean, it's always supposed to be like one of the most difficult road trips you can take. And you feel like they've got a really good fan base there. And when you watch Supersonics games, they feel like they care. So it'd be nice to see them make the playoffs again.
Yeah. I mean, they have a raucous environment. Their city did pick up a hockey team in the last year or two. So that, is great for the fan base, but they definitely, love their baseball. They want to support a winner. And, it's kind of sad that they're the only team, I think, in pro baseball that has never appeared in a World Series. And so they definitely, want to go on a run. And, now they just want to make the playoffs and then kind of build on that. And I think the good news for them is that Julio Rodriguez is just a great building block, 21 years old, just an electrifying player. And just like Ken Griffey Jr. also plays center field.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, outside of having an amazing pitcher, the best thing that you want to have is have a star center fielder. I mean, we were talking about Andrew Jones earlier, what he did for the Braves for so long. If you can have a guy that's a star and he's an epic center fielder, that'll carry you a long way.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I'm really excited to see how they do. Maybe they can at some point follow in the footsteps of the Braves and win that elusive World Series.
Yeah, maybe so. Speaking of the Braves, Joe, I mean, they're coming off their World Series championship last season, having a really good regular season so far, and had a lot of players get drafted, or a lot of players participate in the Major League Baseball All-Star game, a lot more than I was expecting. I mean, you think about the fact that, of course, they didn't have Ozzie Albies play because he's injured, but you had Ronald Acuna there. You ended up having Dansby Swanson play. Contreras, and just really and then of course Darno made the All-Star game as well. So that's a pretty good haul of Braves players in it.
Yes, and then also I forgot earlier, Max Fried is a pitcher, made it as well. Fresh off his great postseason performance in the World Series for the Braves as a pitcher. So just a lot of Braves made the team. They got out, kind of the slow start out of the gates. I think some of it had to do kind of the transition, not having Freddie Freeman trying to defend the championship, kind of the culture shock there, and Matt Olson kind of, emerging into his role. Ironically, Olson didn't make the team, even though he's had, a pretty good season for the most part. But yeah, encouraging to see so many Braves make the team. Their manager, Brian Snitker, of course, got to manage the All-Star team since the Braves won the World Series last year for the National League. But of course, Dusty Baker in the American League did get the upper hand in the All-Star game.
That's right. Man, it just blows my mind that Dusty Baker is still a manager. I mean, like, he's got to be in 30 years of being a pro manager at this point.
Yeah, I mean, he's in his 70s now. It's really baffling that he and Tony La Russa are still managing, La Russa with the White Sox. And they actually, last year, I think they faced off in the playoffs, which is really fun. But yeah, when you think about Dusty Baker, he's won wherever he's been. I don't know if I've ever seen a manager that's been to the postseason with so many teams.
That's right. Yeah, no, he's definitely one of the best there is, and that's why they keep him around even at the age that he is, just like Tony La Russa is. I mean, La Russa's got 4 World Series, and he's a guy that seems to have success wherever he goes too.
Mm-hmm. You're right. So, we're clear for the All-Star game now, so we'll get ready for the second half of the season. Hopefully the Braves, can make a repeat run. But, I know that there are a lot of teams out there, like the Yankees have had a great season, and then obviously the upstart Mariners as well.
That's right. Well, I'm just hoping we can see the Mariners make the playoffs. That'd be a good story for them to get that monkey off their back and maybe have some success in the postseason even.
That'd be fun. And there's going to be more teams in the playoffs this year because they expanded it. So better chance there.
Well, good deal. Well, that's good news for all you Mariners fans out there. And hopefully you can see your team finally make the postseason. And in what is a very dubious stat right there, the longest run of not making the playoffs of any of the 4 major sports.
Absolutely.
All right. And speaking of run, we appreciate all of you that make it to where we can have a continued run on the air and the internet. And you can check out all of our episodes on Spotify. Look up the Dana Joe Sports Show on Spotify. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel and catch out all of our recent episodes on there. And of course, you can also follow us on Twitter at DJ Sports Show and like our Facebook fanbook page. And as always, I'm Dan.
And I'm Joe.